Daniel Cross had exactly 12 minutes to get to the Grand Meridian Hotel. His daughter, Sophie's school recital started at 6 p.m. sharp, and she was performing her very first violin solo at 41. Daniel, a devoted single father, had learned early that missing the moments that mattered was never an option. Traffic crawled through the downtown district as the evening sun painted the city in shades of amber and gold. Daniel drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, mentally calculating whether he could still make it on time. His phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. "Dad, are you coming?" Quickly, he typed back, "Almost there, sweetheart. Wouldn't miss it for the world." The Grand Meridian Hotel was hosting the annual Youth Music Showcase in its grand ballroom. Daniel had dropped Sophie off 2 hours earlier so she could rehearse with the other students. Now, he was racing against the clock, his suit jacket hastily thrown on after leaving his construction site office. As he pulled into the circular drive, something unusual caught his eye. A woman in a gray business suit was struggling near a black sedan. At first, Daniel thought it might be a tense conversation or an awkward goodbye, but the terror in her eyes was unmistakable. A masked man had her in a chokehold, dragging her toward the car door, while another stood by. Bystanders froze, unsure of what to do. Daniel's heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at him to park and rush inside for Sophie, but something inside him paused. This woman needed help, right now. He thought of his late wife, Jennifer, who had passed away 5 years ago from cancer. Her words echoed, "Do what's right, even when it's hard." Daniel threw his car into park, sprinting toward the woman. "Let her go!" he shouted across the hotel entrance. The masked man jerked his head, stunned, and Daniel moved in. Though not a violent man by nature, his Marine training surged through him. He ducked, sidestepped, and threw his shoulder into the first attacker. The woman broke free, gasping for air, while Daniel's adrenaline pushed him forward to confront the second masked figure. In the chaos, the woman grabbed a large planter, swinging it with all her strength. It collided with the second attacker, who staggered, giving Daniel a chance to pull the first man backward. They crashed onto the pavement together. Sirens wailed in the distance as hotel security arrived. The attackers, realizing they were outmatched, fled in their sedan, tires screeching across the driveway. Daniel sank to the ground, exhausted and bruised. The woman, disheveled but alive, rushed to him. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice shaking. Daniel nodded, catching his breath. Around them, security coordinated with police and paramedics. Daniel glanced at his watch. 6:15. He had missed Sophie's recital. His heart sank. Sophie had waited for him, searching the audience. And he hadn't been there. The weight of that realization hit harder than any punch he had taken in the fight. A security guard tried to get him to stay for the police report, but Daniel's mind was elsewhere. His phone buzzed, Sophie calling. His voice heavy, he apologized. "Sophie, sweetheart, I am so sorry, Dad." Her smothered, hurt voice asked, "Where were you?" Daniel's heart broke. He had done the right thing, saving a life, but at the cost of the most important moment in his daughter's life. A woman, Victoria Hayes, sat beside him, her ordeal now past, yet showing concern for him. Police and paramedics arrived, statements were given, and slowly, the chaos settled. Victoria explained she was a corporate attorney targeted in a high-case kidnapping attempt was professional, and Daniel's bravery had saved her life. Yet, the knowledge that he had let Sophie down lingered, a heavy weight on his chest. By the time he made it inside the hotel, the recital had ended. Sophie sat alone in the lobby, her violin case beside her, her recital dress wrinkled. Her teacher, Mrs. Palmer, looked relieved to see him, but Sophie remained distant. The drive home was silent. That night, Sophie went to bed without saying goodnight. Daniel sat alone in the kitchen, the bump on his temple throbbing. He had done the right thing, but it didn't feel right. The next morning, Daniel awoke to the sound of Sophie bustling around the kitchen. She was already dressed for school, making her own breakfast, a behavior she only showed when upset. Daniel rubbed his temples, still sore from yesterday's chaos. "Sophie, we need to talk about yesterday," he began cautiously. She didn't look at him, her back turned, moving efficiently around the small kitchen. "You promised, Dad," she said quietly. Her voice was tinged with hurt and disappointment. "You always say family comes first," she continued, "but you didn't come." "I know, and I'm sorry. Everyone asked where you were. I told them you were coming, that you never missed anything important, and then you didn't show up." Daniel moved closer, trying to bridge the distance, but she stepped away. His heart ached as she whispered, "I waited for you. I messed up my solo because I kept looking for you in the audience. Daniel swallowed the lump in his throat. There had been an emergency, a life-threatening situation where someone needed his help, but explaining that to a heartbroken child seemed impossible. Sophie grabbed her backpack and headed for the door. Mrs. Palmer said she recorded everyone's performances. She added, without turning around, "You can watch mine on video, like everyone else who didn't care enough to be there." The door closed behind her, leaving Daniel standing in the quiet kitchen, feeling like he had failed at the one job that mattered most. The following days were tense. Sophie was polite but distant, practicing her violin with the door closed, completing homework without prompting. She was well behaved and orderly, yet Daniel found it terrifying. He preferred arguments and slammed doors over this cold, distant behavior. It felt like losing her slowly. On Thursday afternoon, Daniel's phone rang. The display showed an unknown number. Hesitant, he answered. "Mr. Cross, this is Victoria Hayes," a familiar voice said warmly. "Oh, hello. I hope you don't mind me calling," she continued. "The police gave me your information for the case file. I wanted to check on you." "I'm fine, thank you. And your daughter?" Daniel asked carefully. "She's not taking it well," Victoria admitted after a pause. "Daniel, would you allow me to try to make this right?" Daniel shook his head slightly. "That's not necessary. Please," Victoria insisted gently. "Let me at least try." 2 days later, Saturday morning arrived. A sleek silver car pulled up to Daniel's modest house. Victoria stepped out casually, dressed in jeans and a soft blue sweater. But she was not alone. Behind her, a black SUV parked, and 3 people carrying instrument cases followed. Daniel opened the door before Victoria could knock, his face a mixture of confusion and curiosity. Sophie appeared behind him, peeking around the corner, drawn by curiosity despite herself. "Hi, Sophie," Victoria greeted warmly. "My name is Victoria, and I'm the reason your dad missed your recital." Sophie's eyes widened in surprise. "I want to explain what happened," Victoria continued. "And I brought some friends who would like to hear you play." From the SUV, a woman with silver hair approached. Daniel immediately recognized her, Helena Morrison, the principal violinist from the city's symphony orchestra. Behind her came 2 other musicians, a cellist and a pianist. Sophie's jaw dropped. "Your father saved my life last Tuesday," Victoria said gently. "He missed the most important thing in his world, watching you perform, but he did the right thing." Sophie's eyes welled with tears. "But I needed him there," she whispered. "I know," Victoria replied softly, "and he needed to be there too. Nothing hurt him more than missing your moment. But your father is the kind of man who helps others, even at a cost to himself." Helena Morrison stepped forward, holding a recording. "Your teacher, Mrs. Palmer, sent me the video of your performance. Sophie, you have real talent even with the mistakes you think you made." Sophie's voice was small, barely above a whisper. Really, Helena confirmed. "So, perhaps you might play for us now and let your father hear what he missed." Sophie looked at Daniel. His eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I would love nothing more, sweetheart," he said. They set up in the living room, the modest space transformed by the presence of professional musicians. Sophie raised her violin nervously. Her hands shook, but Helena sat beside her, offering gentle encouragement. And then, Sophie began to play. The melody was simple, a classical piece Daniel had heard her practice countless times. But hearing it now, seeing the concentration on her face, the way her fingers moved with growing confidence, it was the most beautiful thing he had ever experienced. When she finished, everyone applauded. Helena praised her technique. The cellist asked about her musical training, and Sophie glowed with pride and attention. Later, as she showed the musicians her sheet music collection, Victoria sat with Daniel on the porch. "Thank you," he said simply. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did," Victoria replied. "You gave up something precious to help a stranger. That kind of goodness is rare." The days after Sophie's impromptu performance were filled with quiet reflection. Daniel noticed subtle changes. Her politeness remained, but the tension in the house softened slightly. Sophie practiced her violin diligently, her face more determined than ever, while Daniel tried, again and again, to bridge the invisible wall between them. Then one afternoon, Daniel heard the hum of a sleek silver car outside. Victoria had returned, this time without any urgency, without the musicians trailing behind. She carried a warm smile and a small package wrapped in brown paper. Daniel invited her in. "Sophie, Victoria is here," he called softly. Sophie peeked from behind the staircase, curious but wary. I brought something for you, Victoria said gently, kneeling to hand Sophie the package. Inside was a new sheet. Music collection, neatly annotated with notes and encouragements. I thought you might enjoy some new pieces to practice. Your father told me how hard you've been working. Sophie's eyes sparkled. For the first time since the recital, she smiled genuinely. She hugged Victoria tightly, and even Daniel felt the warmth in the room. You've become friends in the strangest way, Daniel whispered to Victoria, a hint of relief in his voice. Victoria nodded, smiling softly. Sometimes, crisis brings people together. It teaches us what truly matters. Later that evening, Daniel sat with Sophie at the kitchen table. Sophie, he began, I know I missed something that was important to you, and I'm sorry. I hope you understand why I did what I did. Sophie looked down at her hands, gripping the edge of the table. I know you saved someone's life, Dad, and that's important. I wish you were there. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. I wish I was too, sweetheart. But you know what? You taught me something yesterday too. That courage isn't just about helping others, it's about being honest about your mistakes and learning from them. Sophie's eyes met his, and slowly, she nodded. I guess I can forgive you. The following weeks brought more surprises. Victoria occasionally dropped by with new music, piano stories, and encouragement. Sophie's confidence grew rapidly, and she began performing short pieces for family and friends at home. One day, a letter arrived in the mail, an invitation for Sophie to audition for the youth orchestra. Daniel felt a surge of pride. This is amazing. Sophie, you ready for it? Sophie hesitated, then smiled. I want to do it, Dad. And I want you in the front row. Front row it is, Daniel promised, determination in his eyes. I'll never miss it again. The audition day arrived. Sophie was nervous but poised. Daniel, true to his word, sat front and center. Victoria and Helena were there too, supporting her silently. Sophie took a deep breath and began to play. Every note resonated beautifully, her confidence radiating. As the music filled the room, when she finished, the room erupted into applause. Sophie's eyes met Daniel's, and a silent bond passed between them. He had learned to balance courage with presence, and she had learned that love sometimes comes with sacrifice. The next few months strengthened the bond between father and daughter. Victoria became a cherished friend, often sharing stories about her life and encouraging Sophie to pursue her passion. Daniel learned that heroism didn't just happen on the battlefield, or in a moment of crisis. It happened in everyday choices, in showing up when it mattered most, in guiding and protecting those you love. One evening, as Daniel tucked Sophie into bed, she whispered, Dad, I understand why you had to help her, and I'm proud of you. Daniel smiled, brushing her hair back gently. Thank you, sweetheart. That means more to me than anything. In the following weeks, Sophie auditioned for the youth orchestra and earned a place in the second violin section. Daniel attended every rehearsal and performance, never missing a single note or moment. Victoria remained a supportive figure in their lives, bridging the gap between heroism and humanity, reminding them both that acts of courage often ripple far beyond the moment they occur. As they walked home from one of Sophie's performances, Daniel held her hand tightly. Remember, Sophie, sometimes doing the right thing costs you something, but it always teaches you what truly matters. Sophie nodded, looking up at him with a newfound respect and understanding. I get it now, Dad, and I'm glad you're mine. That night, Daniel reflected on the events that had changed their lives. He realized that heroism wasn't about accolades or recognition. It was about choices, sacrifice, and love. And sometimes, in giving up something precious, life has a way of returning something even more beautiful. From the edge of tragedy came a bond stronger than fear, a lesson in courage, and the reaffirmation of family. Daniel, Sophie, and Victoria, trio formed from crisis, walked forward together, united by the lessons of bravery, compassion, and the power of the human heart. And that's the story of a father who chose to do the right thing, even when it cost him dearly, teaching his daughter the true meaning of love, sacrifice, and courage.